What's up, guys? Dan Cohan here with my friend Gabe Bowling for another interview. Gabe here has gone from 0 to 55 units of multifamily real estate in one transaction at only 26 years old, just this year. And he's going to share with us today how he got there and why he went from 0 to 55 units of real estate instead of going the more traditional path of onesies, twosies, kind of building up to that point, how he got there, why he did that, and what he's going to be doing going forward. So with that, let's get right into the interview.
Awesome. Well, first off, I'm 25. Don't discredit it. I just turned 25.
Okay.
The story's pretty simple. Because I am 25, there isn't really a long story. Literally started at real estate probably at the age of 19, like going into 20. Traditional middle class, just living on my mom's and my dad's dime, military kid. So it was like really consistent income. And honestly, it was the one thing that kind of kept me from starting a little bit earlier. It was just really comfortable. I didn't really do much, right? So I think that all started to change when I met my wife, my now wife. She'd been growing up in the same way that I did. She ended up moving in with me, and it was just like every day she would wake up and go to work, and then I would wake up and just do nothing. And it was just one of those days where I was like, all right, well, now I kind of need to grow up. And so I was in school. The only way that I was getting like stuff like handed to me for being in the middle class was I got to show up for school and I got to get good grades, pretty much like any other middle class person. And I was going through the motions just to do so versus like moving forward towards any other goal. And so it was just kind of pointless, lost, really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I met my wife, and then she was like, dude, just do something, like start, do something. So I just go on the Google, what is the best industry to get into with no college degree and can make a lot of money? And as anybody here would know, is real estate. Real estate's the most millionaires. I don't even know if that's a true statement, but so many people say it. It's got to be true now, right? 5 years later, being on the side of seeing what's actually possible, I can tell you 100% anybody can do this game. So that's where I kind of started. And I was 20 and middle class, no like true value. I didn't know how to underwrite deals. I didn't know how to really do anything. So what's the first thing that anybody does when they want to get started in real estate? They get the real estate license. I don't know why that's the everyday thing. I think it's just too many YouTubers going on and saying this is how you start in real estate. You don't need a real estate license to invest in real estate. I'll give you guys that right now.
No, I don't have one.
Granted, just so you guys understand like how middle class of a student I was, I failed the test 3 times, and then on the 4th one I finally passed. And I think that was the last one that you could pass before having to redo all that stuff. And so it's like I wasn't good at anything, like at all. I was just doing the motions just to get by. And so, but I just knew that if I just showed up and just put myself in the right position, at some point something would stick. And so I got my real estate license, and I then realized just because you got your real estate license, you don't make any money. You just hold a piece of paper, just like a degree. If you don't do anything with it, it doesn't matter. And so I get it. I'm like, okay, well, having this piece of paper, it allows me to do more than I could without it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can sell homes. I can sell luxury homes. At the time, I was watching some show, I think a YouTuber who was selling luxury $1 million homes. At some point, I think it was Graham Stephan at the very beginning before he blew up. I was watching him. I was like, man, I could make 100 or 200 grand at the age of 20 selling luxury homes. No luxury broker wanted to actually talk to me. And so I was like, well, let me just Google the top commercial brokerages to work for. Because I knew it was like commercial it's like a larger system. So there's a ladder that you can climb. They've structured it so anybody can make a lot of money in it. It just takes a little of time. And so I Google, I interview with CBRE, they don't want me. I interview with Cushman & Wakefield, they don't want me. And then eventually I cold call my way into Marcus & Millichap. At the time, they were doing what's called a sales internship program. I think it's the SIP position, where they were paying $8 an hour. I couldn't even get that. I was like, dude, I'll do anything. Just let me work. I'll work completely for free. I just want the experience. Just give me like the opportunity. And I think it was just a mixture of that with luck and timing. They just needed to fill desks. And so that's a very common theme that you'll see. It's like your path along the way, you'll find luck, but you'll only find it if you put yourself in that position to find it. So that's happened to me twice, both with Marcus Millichap and Cardone Capital.
Right.
So I get into Marcus Millichap, I work for free, I take advantage of the ability, because not everybody has the ability to work for free. I get that. And so I was just in my position. I said, okay, what's the best thing that I can do right now to move forward? That was one of them. That's kind of how I evaluated that decision. Got in, worked for free for an entire year, just doing the grunt work, like cold calls, underwriting thing, like just let me do anything to save you time. Just tell me why I'm doing it and show me how. Right. And that was, I think I started in April and then I left in like late November, early December. So not even a full year. Okay. My wife sent me a post on Instagram from Grant Cardone, and he said he was hiring investor relations people for his real estate company. And at the time, I unfollowed Grant. I didn't really like him at all. He was really short. And I was like, wow, he's really big. He owns, like, I think at the time it was like 4,000 units. It seems like I could garner some really good experience from working there. And so I basically did the same thing, cold called, reach out, I think I sent like 6 or 7 different emails to different people in the departments. Got seen, sent my video, sent the resume, had just enough experience to make it look like I was somebody that would fit their role, their fit role. And again, it was timing. At the time, the company really needed to grow. They needed more people on the phones. And so luck and preparation kind of hit the head together. I was there for about 3 years total. I think it was 2 years and like 6 months that I was there. And that's really where I got exposed to a ton of pretty much everything that I know today. And then I'd say probably 8 to 12 months ago, I started reaching out and started learning different strategies from different operators. Like today I listened to an hour-long podcast from Barry Sternlicht, owns 120,000 units. Like it's just a different level. And so I've gotten started learning from Grant and just getting the exposure of working at Cardone Capital and raising a bunch of money. And then I kind of fell in love with the game. So at the end of that tenure, I had to make a decision whether I wanted to become like a really good, effective, you could call it a salesperson almost, or call it an effective communication person with investors to raise money. And or I could pretty much have the opportunity to break off and go out and pretty much create my own ship and steer it the way that I want to. And so I ended up doing that in February of 2022. February 1st was my last day, and we closed on the Daytona deal, this deal right here. 55 units. We bought it for $8.2 million. That deal, it's worth over $10 million today. It's doing really well on it as far as the rent increases. That's pretty much it. That's my story. Like I broke off, I bought a deal. I have an education business. I have a consulting business. Like I learned a lot from working at Grant's business, not just real estate, learning how to make money, keep it, and multiply it. And so I'm really helping a lot of different types of people. I currently have consulting with high net worth individuals and companies like operators. And I also have the education business where I'm doing, like for instance, you were there yesterday. I do a free call every single Friday to help anybody get involved in multifamily real estate. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm mixing the education with the actively actually going out and buying apartments.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I was on that free call last night, and it was like, you get on a lot of people's free calls, and they're, a lot of fluffery. But like Gabe's call, they went and, he went right live. There's about 33 people on there and underwrote an active deal right now. I learned a ton. I took a whole bunch of notes. Gabe actually, I was able to get his course, and he gave it to me, and I had finished it within a week, 7-hour course, because I'm just like looking at deals. I'm like, man, this is what I need right now, and it's a very good course. I feel very confident. I've talked to quite a few brokers and stuff, and looked at a bunch of deals, and like I can hang with them, like and like I do know what I'm doing, so
yeah, that's what it is. I think the biggest difference between, like, because you ask yourself, like, you just listen to my entire story. You could say that I have an advantage to say that I worked for Grant Cardone. It's just a big name. And whenever you think about it, I use that as leverage. And anybody else can use any experience that they ever have as leverage and can get the same credibility because the way that I operate with almost 3 bank accounts. And one of them is a relationship bank account. So I need to be constantly adding people into my ecosystem. I value people. Just like you value a car, just like you value a dollar, I value people. And so I have a relationship bank, I have an intelligence bank. So how much confidence do you have on a certain subject? Because confidence gives you confidence. Confidence buys you relationships. Like the only reason people trust me to invest $1 million into a deal is because I'm very confident. And guess why I'm very confident? Because now I have the experience to use this as leverage to buy more relationships. It all feeds each other. I feel like that was important to touch on, because people, they need to understand that in this space, like especially multifamily, it is a people game. And I know 100%. You said something about the brokers, and if you can hang with them, it's because you're confident, because you know.
Right.
And ultimately, like, if you're building a relationship with the broker because of that, he's going to give you more time because he knows that you're real. And then that snowballs into, as soon as he brings out a deal and you call him over the guy that doesn't know him and doesn't have a relationship, you're going to get that deal awarded to you every single day of the week over the other guy. So that's important to do at the beginning. And nobody is telling people to do that.
No, and I think that's a big, a fall through with a lot of the teachings and stuff, is people don't, they tell you to go do these deals, like whether it be multifamily or sub 2 or something like that. And it's like, oh, it's just easy. You just go talk to them. But like the people that are conducting these have a track record and a level of confidence that most individuals, can't muster without the right training or the right experience, and really having that depth of knowledge or depth of experience or track record, like those micro, the tonality and just talking to people and knowing what you're doing, like, is the difference between you getting the deal or not getting the deal.
What I recognize, and you were at the Future Flipper event when the Boakley brothers came up. I had the chance to actually meet Landon and get to know them. They're really good people. And I straight up said, I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. The reason that you win these deals off the MLS over anybody else is because the brokers respect the hell out of you guys. They know that you can close and you give them the confidence. It is literally the exact same thing for multifamily real estate. The brokers are like their obligation, because everybody's naturally selfish. And so whenever you can follow the money, a lot of the times it's led by money, especially in this industry. The brokers want to get paid. Like their obligation is to choose the absolute best buyer. Big guys in this space make a bunch of money, and they have to be responsible with who they're choosing as the buyer. The number one way that you're going to get awarded a deal is by providing some type of confidence or form of confidence to the broker. Oftentimes this is proof of funds, like on smaller deals, pre-qualification letters. Like those don't exist on multifamily transactions. Like, you ever realize, like, why does a realtor want to see pre-qual letter? Because they want to see that you can get a loan. That's all it is. How confident are you that you can close on the deal? Yeah,
you're not going to be able to, like, bullshit your way through a multifamily. There's just too much scrutiny.
I've seen it too many times.
It's not like a residential deal where you can, it's pretty low level in terms of the screening and stuff like that. Like, it's just not going to happen on a bigger deal. There's just too much. The people involved are too sophisticated. Gabe, tell us about like this. So this deal. So like for me, my journey, and I think the more common practice would be to in terms of getting started investing in real estate. Like, for example, I kind of tell people like, hey, go get a house hack. Like, like get a very low entry point where you're almost guaranteed to be successful. Get that first deal under your belt. And I think you say the same thing, but just and you even tell people to go do that, whatever it is, just get your first one done.
Yeah.
But like, tell us about like, you instead, it's like, I'm kind of building up, like a small deal at a time. And then, shifting my focus now to more bigger deals. And a lot of it's because of what you've taught me recently, but, tell us about you going from nothing to 55. Controlling 55 units in one whack, and like how you structured that, because like, taking down an $8.2 million complex, it requires, capital partners, like sponsor. Like, how did you structure that deal, and how are you able to put that together with no prior experience and being 25 and stuff like that?
Yeah, great question. I want to boil it down to two things. Number one, the people. If you're going, so the way that I look at it is, like, you and I, we're the same person. We're going to end up at the same place. We all want to own a bunch of apartments and have millions of dollars a month coming in and passive income. That's what I envision, like, the ultimate end goal for a lot of people that get intrigued by this space. The biggest question and the biggest separator between a lot of people is, what are they doing at the very beginning? Like, if you could live a 30-year career and ask your 30-year-old self in that career what you would do in the first 5 years differently than you're doing right now in your first 5 years, I think that is what separates like really mediocre from like really average to like the greats. And so I'm being completely selfish when I say this, and I think you have to be. When, like, I look at a guy like Barry Sternlicht, and that's who I want to be like. Like, the guy manages $100 billion of assets, 100 billion plus. Like, not everybody wants to build something like that. So I have to be very clear, like, it's always going to be individualized on you and maybe your partner. Like, my wife is a really big part of, like, we're a team. We're not just husband and wife, we're a team and we're both together. So something that we've come up with was, well, we want to design a life where, like, nobody's going to be remembered for 10,000 years from now, but we want to last as long as we can and make the biggest impact that we can. And we've accepted that, okay, well, in order to do something like that, we have to do something much different than a lot of people. And so I'm just, at the very beginning, I'm 25. The decisions that I'm making today are for the 50-year-old version of me. Not everybody's going to be operating in the exact same space, because some people are going to be okay with 20 grand a month and completely fine. And so it's just your version of what does your dream life look like, and then reverse engineering from that. For me, I look at Barry, I'm like, okay, well, I listen to Barry's story, and there's literally nothing different between just the information that we have and confidence. And then he has a few decorated degrees. I don't, but that's just a piece of paper. So if you can push on the people that you know, which for me, in order to do this deal, I needed one partner, somebody with experience and somebody with the wherewithal to sign on the debt. If you just pick it apart from you right now, if you wanted to do this deal, you are the exact same position as me. The only person that you don't have, the who, is Ken, the partner. And so you're literally one relationship away from having the ability to close on a deal like this. That relationship, how much do you have to put in to earn that relationship? Because it's going back to, okay, well, I have a relationship bank, I have an intelligence bank, and then I have an actual bank. The intelligence feeds the relationship, because right now, like Ken, my partner, very big guy, owns over 1,000 units, like has a management company, like really, 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 really big guy, and very extremely like experienced, 25 years plus of experience. And so you look at it, you're like, okay, well, he can do that deal completely alone. Why bring somebody like me in? That's the question. Every skeptical person out there, every normal person should be asking. I found the person because of the intelligence that I had I had the ability to know what a person like Ken would be looking for, because Ken always has a problem that he needs to have solved. He is raising equity blindly. And so he has great relationships because he's been doing it for so long. People trust him so much with his money, so they commit money blindly and then let him go out and choose the assets. It makes him a better buyer. And so he had money raised, but he couldn't find anywhere to place it, because he's normally playing in the 100 to 250 unit range.
Right.
And so he has a burning problem in his head saying, man, I need a deal to place equity. It's like, if money sitting just know, like in this space, money sitting is the worst thing that could ever do.
Yeah, dead money.
Yeah. And so, okay, I find out that he has that problem. I've already slowly built a relationship because my intelligence can help his business, because it's just leveraging. I met Ken in the 10X ecosystem. I knew that he wanted help with marketing, and he wanted a little bit of behind the curtain of what does raising money from retail investors look like, because it's really new. Like not many people are raising hundreds of millions of dollars on social media alone.
Right.
So people really want to know that. And so me just looking at from a value proposition, because I'm a very self-aware person. Like I know, like I remove emotion a lot of the times when I'm looking at myself. I know what type of value can I provide. Well, I can raise money and I can look at and find deals. I'm confident enough to know today if Ken's return criteria, and this is really big for people to listen to, if you're if you're to the point where you know what you're doing as far as looking at deals and identify, like being able to come up with equity returns. Like I knew that Ken's equity return requirement was close to 20% per year. So if I could find a deal that fits his underwriting model, fits the rent comp analysis, like fits everything, checks the box, great location, like everything, I knew that could possibly solve his problem.
Right.
So guess what I do? I start looking for deals. I know he's looking at 100 to 250 unit deals. I know for my first one, it's going to be really hard to get awarded, even partner with a partner like with Ken on that, because I got to be able to raise a significant amount of cash. For your first deal, if you're going to start with like 32 to 50 to 64 units, depending on your markets, I always starting out, you should try to be able to raise $1 million to $2 million. That should be your threshold if you're going to try to start out here and not do some of the small stuff. Be able to raise $1 million to $2 million if you want to be able to provide any type of value from the general partner position to be involved in it. And so I found a deal, literally 4 days. I think I showed you when we were in Vegas. 4 days after I left working for Cardone Capital, I left on February 1st. I got an email from Ned Roberts, literally with the picture of this, saying 55 units, brand new, listed for sale in Daytona Beach, Florida. I do the run on it, I underwrite it, I send it to Ken, and I mean the rest is kind of history. Because he had an existing problem, I had an existing relationship with him, and I solved the problem. It's an easy decision to do that partnership. And so like if you're getting started, like in my free course, I tell you, like at the very beginning, before you even start underwriting deals or even talking to brokers, you should make a Facebook post or an Instagram post and say, hey guys, what's going on? I just invested into a multifamily course. I'm going to be going out and buying 24 to 48 unit deals in Kansas City. If you're interested in investing alongside me, just let me know. And you want to build an active list of investors, because it just gives you confidence. Like if you have 20 people that stand up and say, I'll give you 10 or 25 grand or even 50, maybe 100, like you're going to be able to look at a $4 million deal much differently, knowing that you have people that want to give you money versus not knowing. I can promise you that.
Guys, if you're getting a ton of value from this and want to get into multifamily, go ahead and hit the like button down below. For sure. And like, so with this part, having that active, and I've been starting to build an active investor pipeline for that reason. But like for you, and you brought the deal to Ken, He's got a pile of money. Did you raise any of your own money into the deal?
Yeah.
Because I know like people wholesale all the time.
Yeah.
You probably can't wholesale a big,
that's the
but like, what did you?
Yeah,
I know I don't think it's a good idea either. I'd rather have equity. But
if you're out there and you're wholesaling and you get the opportunity to wholesale a deal like this, and you just made the biggest mistake you'll ever make.
But like, what did you do to get involved with the deal?
I raised
besides bringing the deal.
So I found it. I raised money for it, and I'm running point on the asset management side.
Okay.
Granted, Ken has a vertically integrated property management company,
Okay.
so I'm working with Ken's team to manage the asset. But I am making it a passive investment for Ken, but he still gets the benefit as a general partner and place equity. And so that is literally the best of both worlds, because the 55 units is too small for him to pay all of his attention to.
Right.
But he still gets to benefit from being a GP in the deal, and he gets to benefit from investing. He ended up investing, it was a total of 4, just to keep it simple. He invested 3, and then I raised 1
million.
Yeah, and then Ken, we had a discussion about it. I could have been a much smaller percentage of a GP position if I didn't want to raise money. I wanted to raise money. I wanted to go through the process. So I paid my attorney $15,000, and just wait, I'll save it. I'll save the headache. I paid my attorney $15,000 at the beginning of the process to set up a PPM, an operating statement, and a subscription agreement. And I legally sold securities for this property under Bowling Equity Fund 1 LLC. You can look it up in the SEC, like it's official.
It's a real deal.
Securities. And I wanted to go through that process because I wanted to get the experience. And regardless, like I did this deal from a business operator standpoint. I did this deal with the least amount of risk that you could ever do, because I partnered with a guy who he provided a safety net. So regardless of how much I raised, we were still going to do the deal. And so I was like, that's a no-brainer. Let's go. And then part of a syndication, part of that business model, and I will preface this, if you're brand new, you do not have to start out with the syndication. You can get away with doing like 12 unit deals on JVs. If you are going to do it, just understand there's a ton of responsibility level that heightens from dealing with small deals to big deals. The syndication, you can charge fees and you can get reimbursed fees because you're going through the SEC, and because it's an actual security you're selling, you can get away with this stuff. And investors have no problem because it's a real business. And so that $15,000, I got reimbursed at closing. I got to raise money, go through the process, and then get reimbursed to the syndication. And so that's a company level cost, and it's a write-off, and it's a reimbursement. So it's like it's a no-brainer if you have the opportunity, but you certainly don't need to force yourself to swipe a card for $15,000 if you're doing a 12-unit deal and it's less than $1 million. There's no point in doing it.
Perfect differentiation there. So what would be the big difference between like either legally or functionally, a JV, which is a joint venture, versus a syndication?
Yeah, well, disclosure, not an attorney.
Yeah, not legal advice.
Don't take this as legal or financial advice. Consult with your attorney. To my understanding, the difference is, so for syndication or a fund, syndication is a single entity or a single asset entity. Most of the time, it's going to hold one deal, and it's going to identify X, Y, and Z, ABC street, 55 units. A fund is more of it's a vehicle that allows you to put multiple assets in it, but it's all a legally registered security that you're selling to an accredited investor, depending on how you set it up. A joint venture is pretty much you're not necessarily registering it as an investment vehicle. You're just investing into a business, and that business has ownership, and then that business has profit splits, and that business has distributions, and so forth. And so you have managing members, you have non-managing members in a JV, right? And so in a JV, you can't have a preferred rate of return. You know why? Because you can have a guaranteed rate, but it's not a pref. A pref is a financial term. It's a financial instrument that only syndications or funds can use. And so you can only provide a preferred rate of return to a fund, something that's registered under the 506 exemption, I believe. I could be wrong, probably,
Okay.
but to my understanding.
Speak to a lawyer.
Yeah. So in simple terms, a JV is like the cowboy from the West way of doing it. If it's like a small deal, $1 million or $2 million or less, and maybe there's 4 or 5 different partners. Like if it's $1 million deal, you're going to need 300 or 400 grand all in for your equity and your capex and any interest carry, because it's probably going to be hard money. You're going to raise it from 4 people that all have 100 grand. And those people are going to be your partners. So when I say a JV, it's probably something on that level. And then syndicate, like anything over $5 million, you should start to consider maybe even $4 million. Like if you're raising $1 million plus from investors, maybe you start considering it. Just why not? You're going to at some point. It's just how quick do you want to get there?
Exactly. You might as well just go big from the very beginning.
Yeah.
If you can, find the people.
Yeah. Well, it's confidence, knowledge, and people. That's the only difference between a guy like me and a guy that's 22 that's just starting out. That's all it is.
Oh, exactly. Like I mean, just from my personal experience, because I'm kind of like following Gabe's teachings and his path, and like even before I met him, I met a guy. There's a couple other guys, younger guys, that are going and buying apartments, primarily seller finance. And so I'm starting to look for people like mentors that already own apartments.
I love those. Like on the smaller stuff, the easiest way to negate, because like on a 22 unit deal, I wouldn't raise any money for it, because like for me, it's just too much risk for my limited partner equity. Like I gotta go bigger because it's historically much less riskier. When you're just starting out, if you know what you're doing and you have if you're not the fool that's buying the stuff that has no meat on the bone and get stuck with it, which I see many people do, if you're smart and you understand what you're doing, you can make a bunch of money. You just have to understand that the end goal is to build a cash flow business with large assets that can be managed by a team of 20 to 40 people. Because if you could own, like where I'm going is I want to own $1 billion of real estate by the age of 30. I got to do it in the next 6 years. That business should kick off $20 to $25 million of asset management fees just alone. That doesn't include any disposition promotes. It doesn't include any new acquisition fees. So that business, I'm probably off when I say will net over $10 million a year. To redeploy into bigger deals. Like that's how you grow, and it's indestructible income. And so if you can just, like for me, again, I'm just trying to build something very large. It's not going to be the same for every single other person here that listens to it. I'm building for the next 10 years. Okay, well, if I can tell you that the information that I have in my head today is like 90% of what you need to be on the same path, just get the information. Like start with the free course and then come to the free calls. And if I can't, and the reason I'm so open about it and the reason I give it away for free is honestly because I am 25. I don't know if I'm going to be at $1 billion by the age of 30. We'll see. Right. And so that's the cool part about it. Like I'm as open as they come, and I think just being really relatable to the everyday person is going to help make it more realistic for the 20-year-old or the 22-year-old who are like, man, I want to do something great with my life, but everybody tells me that I got to start with a single family home. Yeah, man, you're showing it's possible with just a few people. I mean, how many people did you raise money from? Like total 16.
16 people. Yeah, I mean, so you just need like a handful.
Everybody's going to start with 50 to 100 grand, maybe even less.
Okay.
Nobody trusts you at the beginning. And it's just when you raise enough money, you just understand that it's a long-term. That's why picking deals is really important. Like at the very beginning, you want to pick the deals that are like no-brainer home runs, and then just build slowly off of that, because you're playing the long game. You don't want to just buy deals to collect acquisition fees and then hopefully they go well. But you want to set yourself up for long-term success. And so everybody's going to start off with 50 to 100 grand, and then you're going to tell them, hey, we're doing really well on the deal. Like I raised $1 million, that $1 million has now turned into at least $3 million that I know of reinvestable capital just from the performance of this first deal. and then building out the social media. Like I'm just getting more equity into the pipeline, and you guys are going to start to see from first deal onto my next deal. My next deal is going to be at least $20 million, maybe a little bit more. And I've already set myself up to perfect, like I'm already aligned. It's literally just find the deal and we're ready to rock. So I'm going to go from 0 to 10, and then 10 to 30, and then 30 to 60, and then 60 to 100. That's my perfect map right now.
Millions.
Yeah. Because it's just, I'm not going to buy an $80 million deal for my third transaction. So I'm buying, again, it's relationships, because the guy who has a $50 million deal, it's Robert Givens in South Florida. He's not going to talk to me if I don't actually perform on the 10s and the 20s. It's a stepping game. If you want to play the big game, if you actually want to play, you got to play by their rules. You got to buy their relationships. You know how the big guys allow you to get into their relationship? Well, you got to pay them a lot of money.
Right.
Like a ton. And you do that by buying deals from them. So relationships with brokers is very important. You want them to be your friends. Like I text all the brokers in the Tampa area. I'm trying to get a relationship with all of them. I probably succeeded on like 90% of all the brokers here that have 50 to 150 unit deals. It's the relationship bank.
Yeah, and with brokers, like I would imagine, and I'm like all the people, the companies that you've listed out in your courses. Like I've been going around and finding the people that are the couple guy teams that are dealing with all the multifamily in each brokerage. I mean, I would imagine I've hit 8 of them. There's probably not very many of them, just due to
it's not. I can tell you right transactions. I can tell you right now, in Tampa, 50 to 150 units, there's CBRE, which is Cameron Barbas, Matt Valeri, and Joe Davis. That's pretty much the only people. There's an institutional team that deals with the big stuff, and then there's some smaller associates that deal with the small stuff. Franklin Street, they probably control 20 to 30% of the market. It's Zach Ames, Avery Jordan, and then one other guy. It's a 3-man team. And then there's a bigger team that deals with the institutional stuff, and a smaller team that it's the same structure. You just have to, based on your criteria, you have to know who are the people that you need to have existing relationships with in order to best put yourself in the race to get awarded a deal. Colliers, Casey Babb, Luis Baez, and Sean Rupp. I know all 3 of them. I've toured deals with all 3 of them. It's just, you got to know your market. If you're going to do this, you got to do it.
Yeah, and you got to go out and meet these people, before the deal comes up. You've got to go. And these guys are just people. Like I'm going to get in coffee with one of them on Tuesday next week, and like he's got an off-market deal in my town that is not like locked up yet, but I'm probably going to be one of the first people to see it, just because I asked him at the right time.
It's preparation plus luck. That's
right.
I call luck timing. That's all it is.
Cool, man. That's awesome. That's great information. I mean, I've benefited a lot from your teachings and the relationship with you, just in a very short period of time. I think that we'll do, I'm at least going to like heavily consider and try to get into a multifamily before the end of the year.
Dude, let's go.
That's my goal, man.
You are the perfect person. The reason I even wanted to do this is because you literally are the perfect person that I want to just pretty much throw through the wall, because I see that you want a similar path of like creating something really large, and you're so far ahead of it. And so that's Alex Ramosi said, like the point of what we're doing is to make it easier for the next guy and the younger youth, the generation. I don't know if anybody else sees all of the other 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds. Like they're not buying deals. They don't care about their money. More people. It's scary too, because it really is scary. Like more people are worried about their Instagram bio and how many followers that they have than like their actual life. Like it's crazy. And so we need more people like you that are going to make an actual impact and do stuff in your life. So if there's anything I can do to push you forward and put you in a deal, like just do it. Because once you go big, like I was tempted with the 24s and the 32s and the 42s and the 48s. I don't look at anything less than 100 units. If it's not 100 units, I don't look at it. Because like once you go big once, you never go small.
Right. It's inspired me, because that's kind of where I was at, like 1 to 40 units. And then I called a broker yesterday, and she has like 84 unit deal available,
Yeah.
and like it's like, you know, off market, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's the, like you said, the upsides there, like the opportunities there, you know.
Dude,
like
if you
how do I take it down?
That's why knowing is so important, because like, I'll give you an example. There was a 120 unit deal. It was priced at $20 million. I lost it because it was overpriced just by $1 million, but it will fall out of contract and I will get it. Track me on that, I promise, I will get it. That 120 unit deal there was at least $500 of upside per unit. It was 10 minutes away from this deal. So like, we understand the market, we know. That deal was in a better location, better quality, newer age. It was just ridiculous. There was a ton of upside there, and we knew for sure that we would pick up at least a 2.5, maybe a 3 times on the equity in a 36-month period. That's like a 40% plus return.
That's amazing.
We just knew it. On our underwriting, you'll see 20. I'm never gonna say 40 on paper.
No.
We knew that there was at least, I think it was 10 or $14 million of upside there day one, not day one, but within the first 36 months. And we were doing anything and everything to get the deal. Everything, because we knew.
Right.
It's the exact same, whether it's on 42 units, 84 units, 120 units, 10,000 units, it's all gonna come back to the simple understanding of equity returns. That's all it ever is. What are the equity returns? Where are you getting the money from? Does that hit their requirement? And is there enough juice on the bone for the GPs to get paid? Like on that $20 million deal, the GP pool probably would have netted $3 to $4 million over a 5-year period or less. That's real money. That's one deal. You do that 2 times, that's $30 to $40 million in a 12-month period. Like within a 5-year period. It's stupid. And when I say like you can build an indestructible business, look at any big institution that owns stuff.
Yeah, they're never going away.
Ever.
You know?
Most indestructible business. Because guess what? You're under a roof, I'm under a roof.
Yep.
People that are listening to this are under a roof, and rents are due on the 1st.
Every month they're not building stuff fast enough to keep up, you know? That's awesome, man. The last thing I have, and this is just a little, you know, more timely, but what do you think, you know, with the market rapidly shifting, you know, we've gone from 3% interest rates to 7% interest rates and, you know, the matter of, you know, 9 months or so. And a lot of these, like I'm seeing a lot of these, you know, people are still trying to sell these buildings at, you know, prices that they just don't make sense with the current cost of money.
The equity returns can't be hit because the debt's too high. And you said a really important word, trying to sell these deals at 4s. When debt's at 6 and 7, they're not going to sell 4s and 5s. I'll tell you that right now. You're going to see some negative leverage depending on the markets that you're in. You've already seen it on the last 6 months. I've been very active in the last 6 months. I've been very picky on the deal. Like we lost that 120 unit deal because at R19, we were negatively leveraged by 30 basis points. And at the 20, the guy was like almost at a full point. And so that's why we ended up passing. Wow. We didn't want to overextend. And so you're seeing that because there's still so much aggression from the masses of institutional investors, and syndicators have basically halted. Nobody's confident enough to show up that is your everyday syndicator. And transactions on the single family home market single family is going to get torn apart in my personal opinion. Not like if you own 1,000 single family homes and you build out a successful system, very few people have. You better raise cash, or you better have already accounted for, you better have a lot of reserves.
Right.
If you have any type of adjustable rate mortgages, get rid of it ASAP. If you look at what the largest institutions are doing right now with their debt, with their assets with floating debt on it, they're unloading everything. Yeah,
because it's just getting underwater so quick.
I've looked at, I don't know if you've seen this, I think I've posted on a couple of stories. I've looked at least probably 5 to 10 deals every single day for the last 3 years. I've never seen as many 500 unit plus portfolios come out and go under contract in the last 4 weeks than I ever have in the last 3 years. And so you start to ask yourself, okay, why? Why is anybody of that size, of that sophistication selling, to choose to sell in today's environment when everybody knows interest rates are going up, right? My belief, and I could be wrong, my belief is that they don't need the cash because they have unlimited money. My belief is that they're selling it because they'd rather take a smaller punch today than a larger punch in the next 12 to 18 months. Typically, the bigger guys, the institutions, know what's coming before it comes because they have rooms full of analysts, right? That went to Stanford and Harvard. Typically, they're right. And so when I see that, I get really excited because I know that they're really sophisticated. I can't compete on a 500 unit deal right now. So my transactions are literally, I'm just making offers on stuff and hoping that I can run into a guy that really needs to sell. And maybe he's smart enough to sell today versus the next 12 months. And so I'm being very patient. I'd say to anybody that's just starting out, literally the perfect time to get educated and to get enough, to get to the point where you're comfortable enough partnering on a deal, because the next 12 months are going to be stupid. Like I'm buying deals in Florida. I'm already seeing stuff go from like 12 months ago, you're seeing stuff at 4s. You see some stuff sub 4. Most of the stuff is like low 4s, maybe 4.5. Like I bought this deal at 475, maybe. I'd say like not when the debt was the cheapest, but slowly on the come up. We went under contract in February or March, I believe. So I don't know what the rates were back then, but I think that I'm going to be able to buy stuff at 6s and 7s and maybe even 8s in the next 12 months. And I'm fixing my interest rates. As long as I'm cash flow positive and I can have 5 years of time, I'm buying throughout this entire cycle because I know if I can buy a deal in Tampa, Florida for a 6 and it's like a good location and there's upside and I'm positively leveraged, it's let's say it's 2000 build. I mean, there's a pretty good chance that just allowing 5 years of time, I'm going to be able to exit or refi at a lower cap rate. And that's explosive. Right. It's like if I can buy a deal at a 6 cap and get $200 of upside and sell it at a 6 cap, I should hit my equity returns. If I'm chasing like mid 15s and up to 20, if I can sell it at a 6, or if I can buy it at a 6, and only get $100 of upside and sell it at a 5, I actually make more money selling it at a 5 because of time.
Yeah, and the lower the caps, the higher the multiple.
Yes.
You know, every point lower is a much bigger jump in price.
It's huge. Yeah. And so that's the opportunity. You got to be active. You got to know what you're doing. You got to negate your risk. You have to understand debt. Debt is a really important piece of this industry. Navigate with people who have done stuff. I'm very picky with who I partner with. Like if you don't have a lot of experience, like I don't want to be the smartest person in the partnership.
No, not at all. You know, you want somebody that's been there, done that. It's going to keep you from
because at some point I'll be that same person that can bring somebody like you and I can change your life and then you can go out and repeat it and do the exact same. Because there's right ways to do it and there's wrong ways to do it. The wrong way to do it is just to like get somebody in, get them to raise some money and then kick them out of the deal. Don't let them be involved at all. Have no experience outside of just like a small acquisition fee. You see that often in this industry today. You get the most for your worth through gaining experience, being involved in the operations. Operations is what pushes results, and results equal equity returns.
Well, awesome. Well, where can folks find you? How can they work with you or interact with your content?
GabeBowling.com, multifamily on Instagram. If you go to anywhere, if you go to the Instagram or you go to GabeBowling.com, you'll basically get directed into the free course. I always recommend starting with it. It's 2 hours, it's 9 chapters. I think it's 44 segments between videos and quizzes. And so it's literally free. If you're on this and you're 50 minutes into it, you're probably interested in learning about multifamily. It's a no-brainer. Just go to the site, go to Instagram, you'll find the link, download it, and then just show up. The biggest push and the biggest thing that I want to be known for is one, the multifamily club, the ongoing call that we do every Friday. and then just helping people get involved in deals. So that's pretty much what I'm doing, where I'm going to be sharing the most time with people. That's where I can do it with a lot of people. I need to do it with a lot of people. I don't want to do one-on-one consulting anymore.
Well, awesome, guys. I'm going to put the links to all that in the description below the video. So check Gabe out. I've taken his course, been on his call. I've talked to him in person. He's a super cool, super true dude. Like I have gotten in just the short amount of time with him and the little content that I've learned, a ton of value that's enabling me to go out and seriously consider the types of deals that he's going after. And I can tell you that his training has been and just knowing him has been the catalyst for that. So go check him out below and go do a deal, guys. And so, yeah, go check that out. Like this video, guys. Subscribe. Gabe Bowling and Dan Cohan, guys. And we'll see you in the next chapter.